This is FNX.
Listen to Shoot the Defence. It's unbelievable, Joe.
Welcome to Shoot the Defence, brought to you by the FNX Network, My Sportswear and the Offside Trust. I'm your host Stel, and joining me on this Dutch football special is Editor-in-Chief of 365 Football, Amber van Lieshout. Amber, welcome to Shoot the Defence. Great to have you on the show. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm very well.
Fantastic. Well, Amber, tell us a bit about 365 Football.
Well, we're a network of 3 websites here in the Netherlands, and we write news about, the one site is about the Dutch national team, the other one is about the glamorous stuff in the football world, and the other one, where I do the most of work for, is about news from the Dutch league and about Dutch players.
Fantastic. Now, is that Dutch players within the Eredivisie or abroad?
No, it's abroad as well, so the big stars like Sneijder and Robben.
So that's a lot of information that you got there, because there are Dutch players everywhere. Turkey and Greece and even Cyprus.
Yeah, we try to follow like the biggest ones.
Right,
because
okay.
That's easier, and most people are interested in those players and not players who play in Cyprus or something like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, have you ever heard of Marco Boogers? Does that name ring a bell?
Not really.
No, he played for West Ham for about 3 weeks and then he disappeared. Apparently he left in his caravan and he's never been heard of again. So maybe that's someone to find. Yeah.
Never.
Yeah, he played one game and that was it. He got sent off against Manchester United actually, and never to be seen again, which is a strange one. But well, look, I'll tell you what, let's start the show with Feyenoord's league triumph. They're first in 18 years. They're first in this century, actually. And if you cast your mind back to October 2010 when Feyenoord were hammered 10-0 at PSV, did you think Feyenoord would ever mount a title challenge, let alone bounce back from such a heavy loss?
Well, I'd like to take it back to 2006, actually.
Okay.
Because then that's when it started with the problems with the club. And they did win the Dutch Cup in 2008, but because of the lack of success, both domestically as in Europe, they created a big debt, which caused a lot of problems, of course. And in 2008-2009, they barely had any money to attract players. Next season they did better, and they also reached the cup final. But then the real trouble started. Because the Dutch FA, the KNVB, they announced that they would keep an eye on the finances of the club because of the financial problems. And also because of these problems, they couldn't sign any new players unless they were available on free transfers or they were from the academy. So then the game against PSV happened.
Right, so this was before Ronald Koeman took charge, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. It was, they had Mario Been before, and after that they appointed Ronald Koeman.
Right, and he was credited with a lot of their work, because from what I understand, he actually took a lot of these youngsters like Jordi Clasie and all these other players and really turned the club's fortunes around. Is that right?
Yes, I think so. I think Koeman started a movement with the Feyenoord team and the club as a whole, and I think a lot of credit of this title should also go to Koeman, because he started this. He built the things that Gio van Bronkhorst could continue working on.
Absolutely. Well, look, I know Dutch clubs aren't afraid to employ head coaches from within. I mean, we've seen the likes of Danny Blind, Philip Cocu and Frank de Boer. Now, Van Bronckhorst's appointment wasn't much of a surprise given his affiliation with the club, but it was a shrewd and calculated choice, wasn't it?
Yes, well, Martin van Geel, the technical director of Feyenoord, he had 2 options. He had either Jean-Paul van Gastel or Van Bronckhorst, and he chose the latter. And, well, Van Bronckhorst has a vast experience as a player, and he knows how to translate it into a management style that worked for Feyenoord.
Okay.
And I think that style really showed this season. And I think it also showed that he's a fan of the club, but he also made objective choices if that was better for the team.
And he's got before he got the job, he had about 5 years coaching experience, because I believe he was assistant coach at one point, wasn't he?
Yeah, so he didn't have a lot of experience, but he showed it doesn't matter.
I agree. Well, look, he fast forward 12 months, and Van Bronkhorst added the Eredivisie title to his list of achievements. Now, Gio didn't make many signings last summer, and I felt bringing in the likes of Brad Jones, who, let's be honest, he was dreadful at Liverpool. I thought it was a big mistake. Now, how big of an achievement was it to win the league with that group of players?
Well, the year before they won the league, they also won the cup, and I think there was like a sign that said, like, next target, that's the title, and we can do it. And I think Brad Jones did really have a big influence for the title. He was great for them, and he showed, like, when he was at NEC Nijmegen, that he can actually be a good goalkeeper. And I think that for Feyenoord, when he came into the club on a free transfer, I think that's great.
Absolutely. Well, look, you mentioned the Dutch Cup success the season before, and I know Jordi Clasie was actually sold at the beginning of that season for just under 13 million, and it led to big changes in personnel. And I think no fewer than 10 permanent signings were made, although the most influential arrived on the free, and that was Dirk Kuyt. Now, when Feyenoord won that Dutch Cup in Van Bronckhorst's first season in charge, what did the media actually make of this? Did this come as a shock to them?
I don't think it was a shock, because Feyenoord proved that they were a good team, and they are like the traditional top three together with Ajax and PSV. So I think we should always look at them as a worthy competitor for the cup, and I don't think the media here in the Netherlands didn't see it as a shock. And so I think they, of course, they didn't expect it, but when they reached the final, they were like, okay, this is a big chance, and there is a big possibility that they will win it.
Absolutely. Well, look, when you look at the Ajax game back in April, I remember watching this game, and Ajax scored after the first 30 seconds. It was a fantastic free kick, and it cut Feyenoord's lead to 3 points. Was there any doubt in your mind Feyenoord could actually cope with the pressure and go on to win the title? Because they actually looked dead on their knees after that game.
Honestly, I did doubt it. But later on, Ajax lost to PSV, and Feyenoord completely hammered Go Ahead Eagles, winning 8-0. So we thought it would be fine until they drew against PEC Zwolle, which was. So then it got close again between Feyenoord and Ajax. And in the end, they only had 2 games left, one against Excelsior and one against Heracles Almelo. And a lot of people were like, oh, those are easy games. They will make it. It will be fine. And people got tattoos with saying Feyenoord champions and everything like that. But there were still 2 games to play. And I think that's when the stress happened. And I think at Excelsior, they completely lost it, really. They lost 3-0 and they completely had an off day. And that was the game that the pressure of becoming champions for the first time in so many years really got to them. And then it came down to the game against Heracles, and they needed 1 point to get into the playoffs for European football. So they also needed a result. So we all thought it would be a great game. Well, Dirk Kuyt, he scored within the first 2 minutes, and then I was pretty sure they would win the title.
That was the final day of the season, wasn't it? When he won when he scored the hat trick. Sorry.
Yes, he scored the hat trick, and that's why they won the title. So when he came the year ago on a free transfer, he said, "I'm coming home to win the title," and he did.
Poetic, isn't it?
Yeah, very.
But look, we've heard an awful lot about Ajax's group of youngsters and saw how well they did in the Europa League. And naturally, this has attracted many clubs, one being Everton, who signed Davy Klaassen for close to £23 million. Now, What can Everton fans expect to see from Klaassen? I understand he scored around 20 goals last season. So are we looking at a Christian Eriksen sort of player?
I wouldn't compare him to Eriksen. I love David Klaassen. I really do. Well, he might not be the most talented player, but he works so hard for his team, and that's like one of his biggest qualities. And I think he was the perfect captain for Ajax, because he was when he was a little boy, he was already a fan of the club, and then he came into the club and played for Ajax his whole life. And I think what Everton fans can expect is a hard worker, someone who play as a central midfielder, attacking midfielder, a false nine, and even as a second striker. He scores his goals, as you said, 20 last season, and it could be penalties, but it could also be amazing long distance shots, as we could see against PSV, I think. And I think he showed that he is a leader at Ajax, and he understands the game very well. I think at Ajax he showed that he's a master in pressing the opponents, and he has an immense stamina. So at Ajax he balanced the midfield, but in a more box-to-box role than just a central midfielder or an attacking midfielder.
Brilliant, fantastic. So, Matthias Klitsch, he left Twente to join Leeds United. Now, which other Eredivisie players do you think will move this summer?
Well, some of them have left, and I think the ones that we should pick out is from Feyenoord, Eljo Elia, who left for Turkey. And Steven Berghuis, which was also an important player for Feyenoord, he returned to Watford after his loan spell.
Uh-huh.
Well, Ajax, they will miss David Klaassen, of course, as we just mentioned. And Bertrand Traoré returned to Chelsea after his loan. From PSV, well, a shock move was the one of Hector Moreno, who suddenly left for Roma, AS Roma.
Yeah.
FC Utrecht lose their striker, Sebastian Haller. He went to Eintracht Frankfurt. And I think some players who will leave are, well, someone who will definitely leave is Jetro Willems from PSV. Because he renewed last season, so he could move away this season and PSV could get money, so they have like a gentleman's agreement.
Okay.
And I've heard rumors that PSV asks about 8 million euros for him. And that Galatasaray is interested in him, but I'm not too sure if he's going there, because he was also linked to AS Monaco last season. Someone who's also linked with a move is Rick Karstorp from Feyenoord.
Okay.
He will probably join AS Roma, so together with Hector Moreno of PSV. Well, Ajax are also looking at their defender, Kenny Tete. He's also linked to Galatasaray, but Ajax and Galatasaray appear to have an agreement, but Kenny Tete is still waiting for like a better club to go to instead of Galatasaray. But if a club like bigger or better doesn't come, then he will go to Galatasaray. Those are the rumors, of course. I think all Ajax players who are linked with the move are Amin Younes and Mitchell Dijks. And a lot of clubs seem to be interested in Joshua Brunet of PSV, but I doubt he makes the move yet, because, well, he was like the substitute of Jetro Willems, but he was starting more and more, so I think he will stay for like another year. And Andres Gordade of PSV, he is linked to Los Angeles FC, and he has an offer for them, but that transfer will probably happen in the winter, because the MLS will start in the winter for us. And Jeroen Zoet, the goalkeeper of PSV, he has been linked to Napoli, and I will think he will make the move away from the Netherlands this summer. Well, and there are some rumors that Everton is interested in Nicola Jurgensen, the striker of Feyenoord.
That's right, yeah. Heard about that one.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think he might make the move if there comes a bid that Feyenoord just can't resist, like 30 million euros or something like that. I don't think they will say no to that. And Feyenoord are also trying to sign Sofian Amrabat from FC Utrecht, which is he's a great midfielder, still very young, but I think he's a great player, and I think Feyenoord should really go for him. Someone who might make the move is Samuel Almenteros of Heracles Almelo. He returned to the club like this season, and he scored a lot of goals. And he might try to go to a bigger league again, so he can prove himself again outside the Netherlands. Well, of course, Kasper Dolberg, he's linked to a lot of clubs.
That's right, yep.
But I doubt he will make the move. I still think he's too young to go there, and I think he has a plan that he will follow, and I think he knows Ajax is the best for him right now.
Yeah. I mean, what, he's 19 years old, isn't he? I think he got about 15, 16 goals last season. And let's be 100% honest, with young Klaus Huntelaar returning back to Ajax, the kid can only learn from him, can't he?
Yes, a lot. And the plan is that Klaas Huntelaar will be like a mentor for him, and Kasper Dolberg will play most of the games, and Huntelaar will be like coming on when we need a goal, or when Kasper Dolberg is injured, or just when he needs a rest.
I've also heard that PSV Eindhoven have signed Mexican midfielder Irving Lozano. Do you know much about him?
To be honest, I don't know much about him. I've heard he is a great talent, and that it was a hard task to sign him, because a lot of clubs were interested. But I've heard he is a great talent, and that, I'm very, very looking forward to see him play in the Eredivisie.
PSV Eindhoven always seem to have this knack of finding or discovering players from Central America and even South America. We've seen with Ronaldo and Romario in the past. So it wouldn't surprise me if Lozano is another one of those gifts that they've just pulled out of the hat, so to speak. But let's talk about Peter Bosz, because he's taken the head coach position at Dortmund, which is a bit of a surprise, really, because he only spent a year at Ajax. But they're in good hands with Marcel Kaiser, aren't they? Can you tell us a bit about him and his playing style?
Well, first of all, the transfer of Peter Bosz really surprised me. And, Thomas Tuchel said goodbye to Dortmund. And suddenly Bosz got mentioned a lot. And I was like, really? After just one season? Well, but we also with Ajax what he's capable of. So I think Dortmund are also in good hands with Peter Bosz, as well as Ajax with Marcel Kaiser. What I can tell about is that he comes from young Ajax, which is the under-21 team of the club.
Yep.
He doesn't have a lot of experience, and definitely not with top teams. But the Ajax under-21s played like really, really good football, and they finished second in the Jupiler League, which is a great result. Also with a very young team. Sometimes they have players from like someone like Diederik Boer, who is like 30 plus years old, but he still played for them because he needed his minutes, of course. But sometimes they also had an age of like 18 minus or something like that, just because they had so many young players playing, and they just have so many talent, and you could see that under Marcel Kaiser. The plus side of his appointment is that he knows the system, and that he knows all the talents who are coming through. So the likes of Abdelrahman Nouri and Frenkie de Jong, they played under him for the Ajax under-21, and that sounds very promising, of course.
And you mentioned young Ajax. I mean, I know Michael Reiziger's taken the helm, hasn't he? He's replaced.
Yes, and Winston Bogarde will be his assistant, I've heard. Well, that's confirmed.
Winston Bogarde, he's how can I put it? We hold him very dear to our hearts in the UK, because I think he was the first footballer to sit on £80,000 a week, and he was happy to sit in the reserves.
Yes, well, I think the appointment of Reiziger and Bogarde is really, really nice for the youth team. And well, we've seen what now has happened with Marcel Keizer being moved up to the first team, and I think and hope that will happen with Bogarde or Reisiger in the future.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of managerial changes, Frank de Boer is tipped to become Crystal Palace's new head coach. Now, I know de Boer he's had somewhat of a mixed start to his managerial career, hasn't he? He won the league at Ajax. They absolutely bombed out of Inter Milan after only 85 days in charge. Now, should he take over the Palace job? Do you think he'll cope with the pressure? I know Sam Allardyce's shoes are literally very big to fill.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good move for him. But he should get time, because at Inter, well, we know what happened. He didn't get enough time, and well, he only arrived 2 weeks before the season started. So he didn't have much time to get to know the players and to introduce his system. So I hope when he signs for Crystal Palace that he does get the time to do that, because then it could be great.
The thing is, when you move to a club like Crystal Palace, there's so much expected of you. It's a big London club. They've got a big fan base. And especially what's been happening with the club over the past 4 or 5 years, with new managers coming in, trying to stabilise the team. And then they went through a relegation battle last season. Sam Allardyce came in. De Boer isn't used to those kind of challenges, is he? He's used to seeing his teams challenge for titles, whereas the shoe's on the other foot now. In fact, it's totally flipped the other way. Yes,
exactly, because at Ajax he won the league 4 times in a row. Well, that won't happen with Crystal Palace.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, I think it could work out decently, but as I said, he should get the time, and I think the expectations should be high, but not too high, because I know everything in Premier League is hyped up, and the expectations are always so high. But I mean, he's still coming from the Netherlands. We're not used to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, Jaap Stam did extremely well at Reading last season, so I'm pretty sure De Boer can do quite well at Palace.
Yeah, I just hope that Van de Boer, if he joins Palace, that he will do all right, and I also hope that Jaap Stam will do great with Reading, because he really deserves it. He showed here in the Netherlands that he's a good manager, and he showed it also last season in England.
That's right. Well, before we discuss the Dutch national team, I'd like to know your feelings on Vincent Janssen and Memphis Depay. Both came to the Premier League on the back of successful seasons and have failed to make a mark. Depay has obviously since been sold, while Janssen is stuck on the bench at Spurs. Now, of the two, which player do you think regrets their decision to come to England most?
Well, I really think Janssen regrets his move the most, because he wasn't done yet over here. I mean, Depay of Memphis, he was ready for the move. He proved himself over here, and even when he was linked to big clubs the year before he moved, he still stayed because he wasn't ready, like Davy Klaassen also did at Ajax this season. Why it didn't work out for him, I have no real explanation. I thought he'd be alright, but I could say that the difference between the Premier League and the Eredivisie is really big, of course. Maybe he didn't get enough time or enough trust from the coach, but I wouldn't understand, because Louis van Gaal, that's like his best mate. I think at Lyon he's doing great, and I think he should continue like this. And I think the expectations, of course, were high, like everything in the Premier League, and that's also for Vincent Janssen. But I'm quite negative about him, because he went from the Jupiler League to AZ in the Eredivisie, and just after one class season he left the Premier League, and he should have moved, in my opinion, to Ajax or PSV or Feyenoord to prove himself in a top team, just not like AZ, but in the real top, so you can play Europa League or Champions League. And that didn't happen because AZ asked too much money for him. And well, Tottenham have been blessed with a striker like Harry Kane. So Janssen would never be a first team player or used regularly. I think he was just Tottenham just wanted him as a backup, I think, and I think he regrets it right now. Yeah, because I don't think he did everything that he would get Harry Kane out of the starting position.
Yeah, £17 million for a player to put on the bench seems a lot of money, but Spurs have got a habit of doing that. If you look at someone like Sissoko, they spent £33 million on, and he's sitting on the bench most of the time. But you mentioned Van Gaal earlier, and as a Manchester United fan, there's something I need to know, Amber, and this is, I'd like to know just your opinion on Van Gaal.
Yes.
Why do you think he likes to go cold on certain players? And by that I mean Depay, for example. He came in, he had a big reputation. He started off pretty well, had a good pre-season, but then halfway through the season, it just kind of fell flat for him, and Van Gaal wasn't giving him chances. He wasn't giving him minutes, and he kind of just dropped him completely. Do you think there was a fallout, or is it just like a habit of Van Gaal just, as I said, just going cold on players?
That's hard to say, of course. I don't know what happened between them, but it could be, of course, that there was a fallout. But I wouldn't dare to say anything what could have happened. I don't know.
Fair enough, not a problem. So, what's the general opinion of Virgil van Dijk then back home? Because he's very highly rated out here.
Well, we think he's a top-class player, of course. But we only saw his class when he moved to Celtic and Southampton. And when he moved to Southampton and played there, we kind of hyped him up. But when he played games for our national team, he made mistakes. And we were like, well, you play good at Southampton, but not for us. We had kind of like mixed feelings about him. And now he's linked with top clubs, of course. So I think we're mostly proud right now that a Dutch player will play at a top club. That there's a possibility that he will play for Liverpool or Manchester City or clubs like that. So
is there a chance, Amber, that perhaps playing for his national team is a bit too much pressure on him?
I don't know. I wouldn't say. I think, well, the level between Premier League and our Dutch national team is different, of course, because when you play centre-back at our national team, you have like Stefan de Vrij, who plays in Italy, so that's a different kind of player than Virgil van Dijk, and maybe that doesn't match together pretty well. And I think that's part of why he makes mistakes.
So do you think he'd be a success at Liverpool, given the fact that they've got someone like Matip there who's quite reliable?
Well, I think he should be able to work it out and be a top class player, but I'd rather see him at City, to be honest.
Okay. Any reason?
Well, I think City is working great on the Pep Guardiola, and I think when Virgil van Dijk works on the Pep, I think it would be a perfect match.
Okay, fair enough. That's an interesting one. Okay, well, we're talking about the Dutch national team, and we know it's going through somewhat of a transitional phase, as it so often does. Danny Blind was relieved of his duties following the 2-0 loss in Bulgaria, a defeat which asked many questions about the Netherlands' qualification hopes. However, a 5-0 win in Luxembourg moved the Dutch within 3 points of France and Sweden, who sit first and second place, both on 13 points. Now, with 4 games to go, Amber, there's a lot of football left to play. So, if they can avoid defeat in France, then there's still a chance of qualification, isn't there?
Yeah, there's still a chance, but it will be very, very hard to still qualify. Because for that, we need to beat France and Sweden and then see how they perform against the other countries. And, of course, hope we don't lose or draw against any of the other countries. And I hope that the appointment of Dick Advocaat will make it happen. But I'm not too confident about it, to be honest.
Well, there's France away, as you mentioned. If they get a point out of that one, I still think they're in it because they still play Sweden at home. And if the points are still that close, there's the other 2 remaining games. Is it Bulgaria again? Bulgaria at home, and who else is the other team?
I think Luxembourg, is it? From my head. Yeah. I'm not really sure, but I think it's Luxembourg.
Yeah, so they've got 4 games left and 2 obviously against the top team. So I think a draw against France, I think they're capable of beating Sweden. You never know what could happen between now and then. It's easy to look on paper to say, right, they're 3 points behind and it's a mammoth task. But injuries, suspensions, you never know what's around the corner. So there's still a chance of doing it. And let's be honest, they've still got great players like Schneider and Robben who can really, really turn it on when they need to. Wijnaldum has had a fantastic season at Liverpool.
Definitely.
Sorry?
Definitely. I think Wijnaldum is one of the players that really surprised me this season.
Oh yeah, any reason?
Well, he went from Newcastle, of course, and well, they were relegated. But when we see the Wijnaldum right now, and we compare him to the Dutch national team, I think there's still a difference, and I think there's still more to come from him when he plays for us, for our Netherlands team.
The thing is, Amber, when Liverpool signed Wijnaldum, I've got friends that are Liverpool fans and they couldn't understand why they signed him. And I said to them, you need to understand this about him. He may not be a consistent player. You're not going to get 9 out of 10 performances from him every week. But what he will give you is commitment. He's strong, he's quick, and he's a very intelligent player for someone so young. You know, he captained PSV to the title, didn't he? So he's not a mug, he's not a pushover. Personally, I think it was a very good deal for Liverpool, and it showed, especially on the back end of the season, where he scored some really important goals, especially on the final day, which eventually got them into the Champions League. I think he's a very, very good player.
Well, I think you're spot on. Like exactly what you say. He doesn't deliver 9 out of 10 matches every week, but gives you commitment indeed. And he doesn't deliver every game, but when he does, he's important.
Absolutely. I agree. Well, look. Should the unthinkable happen and the Netherlands miss out on a second consecutive major tournament, who do you think will be held accountable? Are there problems within the Dutch Football Association?
Oh, well, they definitely have problems. We always say we have like 17 million people here in the Netherlands, and we're all coaches of the national team. So we're all very critical right now at the Dutch FA because of what happened with Hans van Breukelen. He is the technical director of the Dutch FA, and he really made a mess. And fortunately, he resigned this week, so we're getting a new technical director soon. And well, I think that there is no real vision or real plan to make the Netherlands great again, should I say.
So what do you think Van Breukelen did wrong?
Well, of course, it was a mess because Dick Advocaat left after just 2 games as an assistant coach of Danny Blind. And, Marco van Basten also left as an assistant. And, he sacked Danny Blind. And, the search of a new coach, which is now Dick Advocaat, it was a real disaster because he made promises to people like Henk ten Kate. He said to him, you will be the next coach of the Dutch national team. But in the end, it didn't happen. And then Van Breukelen said that he never promised such thing. Well, Henk ten Kate has text messages of Van Breukelen saying it to him and making those promises. And then, Dick Advocaat got the job again.
Do you think the Dutch aren't relying on youth as much as they should be or as much as they used to? Because, I remember that the loss against Bulgaria, and you're looking at players that are 33 years old, 36 years old, 32, 33. You're looking at players that, their careers aren't over, but they're certainly fading. So when you look at what they're doing now with the new manager that's coming in, he's giving younger players a chance. Do you think that's the way forward? The Dutch always pride themselves on youth, don't they?
Yes, exactly, and I think that's one of the things that should change. But I think it should happen when they are ready, because like Matthijs de Ligt, who played brilliantly for Ajax, he made his debut at just 17, 18 years old, and he made a mistake, and then the whole country was like, get this boy out of or starting 11 and play someone with more experience. So that's the other side. We do want younger players in our team, but we don't want them to make mistakes again. So, and I think those qualification games aren't the time to test those young players.
No, I totally understand. So what's happening with the likes of Ruud Gullit? Because I believe that was he offered the position, or did he choose to offer to work for the Dutch FA or something? Is that right?
Yes, he's now the assistant coach of Dick Advocaat.
Okay, great. And I know you're a big Johan Cruyff fan. I mean, which Dutch person isn't? Excuse me. What can you tell me about the guy from your perspective?
Well, of course, he already stopped playing when I got into football, and unfortunately, he died last year. And well, I think his vision is what we should get into our Dutch national team, like the tactics he explains in his book, which he wrote before he died, or which he explained in interviews. I think that is what we should try to get into our football, because the Hollandse school, we are famous because of it, and now we're not showing it at all.
So where do you think you guys should start then? I mean, we can't turn around and say that the Dutch aren't producing youngsters, because we've seen with that Ajax team that reached the Europa League final that the talent is there. So
yeah,
where do you start?
That's hard to say. I think like Ajax are doing, giving youngsters a chance. I think more clubs should do it, like PSV, which don't give youngsters a lot of chances in the first team. I think that should happen more, and I think we should focus on rebuilding our team for the Dutch national team and create a vision almost like Johan Cruyff, and trying to get what we're famous. Well, we're known for those tactics and that system, and I think we should try to get that back.
Fantastic. Well, Amber, thank you ever so much for agreeing to come on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Before I let you go, would you like to tell our listeners your Twitter handle and maybe a website that they can get in touch with you or see your work?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at APVL and then 2 low stripes.
Uh-huh.
Or you can send me a message over there, and then I could send the website I'm working for. Or I could send you my LinkedIn page, so you can also check my previous experience or the things I wrote before for all those websites.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, Amber, thank you ever so much for coming on the show. Hope to have you back on sometime soon, and hopefully the next time we talk, the Dutch FA will be in a better place and the Dutch national team will be a lot stronger than what they are at the moment.
I hope so too.
Fantastic. Well, Amber van Lieshout, great to have you on the show, and we'll speak soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take care now.